Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and welcome to a special edition of Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I'm here today to talk to you about House of Flying Daggers. So this movie came out in 2004, and this, I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, is Xuia, is it wuxia like types of movies, very similar to that of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, to where like this, instead of being more of an action-packed movie, is more of a love romance type movie, and especially that of a love triangle. And so this movie was directed by Zhang Yimou, or something like that. I'm not sure how to pronounce these names. I'm so sorry. Yimoi, I can't say his name. But anyway, he directed a very, very captivating movie. One thing I love about this movie, other than Zhang Ziyi and everything, is the visuals. See, this movie relies heavily on CGI objects being thrown because with the House of Flying Daggers, pretty much every person in this rebel group throws with precision to where every time they throw something, they always land their target. And so what he did is that like whenever they throw something, he slowed it down in slow motion and CGI like the object moving around like the open space and through the land and through the air and stuff like that in a very mesmerizing, captivating way. And I really love how, like, he illustrated that because it feels like the objects being thrown in slow motion are like characters themselves in like a movie. You really feel like you're going through like this journey of whatever this object is, like, flying through space and everything. And this is something that, like, a technique that has been used like a lot in America. Yeah, I remember when I first saw this in like the Daredevil movie. I'm not sure what year. It was in the early 2000s, maybe 2003, 2004, something like around that time. And like, they overused CGI a lot as well in slow motion. Now, I remember there was this rose in Daredevil's hand that he just lets fall, and it falls in slow motion, and it was all CGI to where you can see the crinkles and the petals, and it told its own story. And then when it hit the ground, it hit it in like a very gentle way. A lot of directors like to do this to give like emphasis to whatever it is like that's falling. They want to breathe life into it, like it's a real object and stuff. Some people like this technique, some people don't. Some people feel like it's overused. It has been overused too much in movies and stuff, especially in American movies. It looks better in objects, like when capes are flapping around, or just like an inanimate object. But when it's people doing it, no, that's when things go a little bit too far. Like the Catwoman movie, when she's like, flipping and flying through the air and everything. She was falling and flipping in the air, and it just looked very weird. I think there was a movie called Anita or something like that. It was something. It was some type of Asian CGI movie, and she was doing the fall, flipping around type thing, and that was weird. I think they did it in the Resident Evil video game movies, not the live action movie, but the CGI movies and stuff, and it just looks very weird when it's like a person doing it. But when it's an inanimate object, oh, it's beautiful and everything. And so this movie was actually filmed in two different locations. It was filmed in China when you get like the bamboo forest scene that looks very lush and green and vibrant and everything. Then when you get to the end of the movie where the forest and everything, and when it snowed in the mountains, that's all shot in the Ukraine. And you can tell it's two completely different places because the ground and the foliage and everything is not that lush. And that's because snow was about to fall. Yes, the snow is real. What's interesting about that is like they was filming and all of a sudden it just started snowing. It just started snowing and snow was everywhere. So instead of waiting for it to thaw out and everything, the director decided, you know what, let's keep this. It'll be a great visual, and it was. It was such a unique thing that happened. But I remember when I watched this years ago, I'm just like, where did the snow come from? It just came out of nowhere. And the whole thing was just like covered in snow. I'm just like, where did it come from? It's cool how it went from like sunny to color to then all of a sudden snows everywhere. But it really did add more life to this movie and a more like vibrant, like visual, like color aspect to it. Because one thing that's also great about this movie is the color. There is such vibrant colors in this movie with the clothes, the bamboo forest, until you get to the Ukraine, and it looks kind of dingy and dull, only because, it was about the snow and, the leaves were dying and everything. Yeah, but all the other colors and everything, it was great because when they are in the Ukraine riding on horses, you have like the muted like leaves and grass, but then you had the vibrant colors of their outfits. The greens and the blues really are highlighted. One thing that's fascinating about this movie, it isn't that like much of a cast. It's really only like three main cast members, one kind of recurring, and then one special guest, and then a bunch of background characters for that little dance routine and stuff. Other than that, there's like no, oh, and the soldiers and stuff. But other than that, there's like no cast. Now, of course, Zhang Ziyi is in this movie, and I love myself some Zhang Ziyi, boy. Let me tell you, I like her celebrity has like imploded since Crouching Tiger and stuff. Like she's been in so many movies. She had her own TV show. And I've always wondered, like, what happened to her? Because I don't never see her in no American movies no more. And one of the things that she said was that, after Crouching Tiger, she was offered so many, like, American roles, but she turned them all down because they were typically the same. Oh, she's like a captured girl. She's a poor girl, a damsel in distress. And she didn't want to play that. She wanted to play a more stronger character that gets to beat up on people and stuff. And that is really sad because, that is America for you and stuff. Like I've said this before, there isn't that much Asian representation in television, in American television over the years. They've trying now to get better at it. But even their like, primarily Asian like television shows, they get canceled very quickly no matter how good they are and stuff. This was probably her third movie I've ever seen her in at that point in time because, Crouching Tiger, Rush Hour's second movie. And so, like, she was really dedicated to this movie. There isn't that much martial arts with her. There is like a brief martial arts scene, but it's like brief. But mostly her acting just comes from her acting and also comes from her like dancing because she started off in dancing. And there's a scene where she has to dance and hold her leg up high, and she just did a great job with that. Because there's a scene where it's like there's this guy, Leo, and he throws like these pebbles on like these drums. And her character is supposed to be like blind, and she's able to hit every mark that he hits just by listening to him, but with like her sleeves. Because they do that whole like Chinese fighting technique with like the sleeves. I know you've seen it in probably like some older like martial arts movies where it's like they'll have like a regular like long sleeve like outfit on. It might be a little baggy, then all of a sudden they extend their hand out and this a long like 50-foot like sleeve just comes out of like nowhere and stuff. And so she had to do that while dancing and twirl around, and it was so good. And as for her being blind, she did a great job pretending to be a blind girl. She prepped for this by living with a real blind girl who for 2 months who became blind at the age of 12 because she had like a tumor in her head. That's so sad. But like, yeah, like when you watch this movie and you see the way like she moves around with like her hands and this and that, she really does look like she's a blind girl and stuff. And like, and other than that, like, there's the rest of like her acting that was just like exquisite and stuff. And this is why she's one of the most sought out, like, Chinese like actresses there is. I forget what the name of this. I think they called them a dame or a dan or something like that. It's something where it's like there's like a few Asian actresses that are really sought out and like the all around like the world. Michelle Yeoh is one, she's one, and she's just very, very, very famous. I just wish she would do more. They need to give her a good American role, man. Like seriously. Cause I like cause like I have to watch movies where either I don't know what she's saying or her voice is dubbed, and I don't like that. Cause she can speak English now and stuff. I remember she had a hard time at first when Rush Hour 2. And so like, oh, before I go any further, there was this one actress who was supposed to be in this movie, but sadly she died before the movie ever got filmed. So the movie is dedicated to her towards like the end of the movie, and her name is Anita Moy. So she died of cancer before the movie ever got filmed. And she was supposed to have a big significant role, but nobody knows what that is because the director decided, you know what, since she passed and everything, instead of recasting, why not just omit her character completely out the movie? Which that was nice and everything. And it was nice dedication towards her towards the end. I've never seen her before in anything, but may she rest in peace. Andy Liu plays that. I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Plays Leo. Is it Loy or Lao? I don't know how to pronounce these names. I'm sorry. He plays Leo, and this other dude. Oh man, I'm really gonna mess his name up. Takeshi Kane Shiro, he plays Jin. And so these are really like the only like three stars in the entirety of like, the movie. Now, as for an American audience, it did pretty good at the box office, but not as big as they probably hoped. However, it imploded on DVD sales and stuff. People were just buying this movie left and right. And so, like, this movie never got a sequel, and it never got like a TV spinoff or nothing like that. Because it's not based on a novel, it's an actual original work. And this is actually the third highest like foreign film to come from Asia to dominate like an American box office and stuff. The first one, like I said before, was Crouching Tiger. The second one, I have no idea which movie that is. And so when it comes to this movie, it's a pretty straightforward movie with a really good plot and a really good like romance love triangle plot. However, it's towards the middle of the movie where things get very confusing for me because this movie relies on twist after twist after twist after twist. And I do get a bit confused, and I'm just kind of like, wow, they really went to like a huge effort to get this one guy and everything. I'm just like, they could just like got away with him right then and there. So when it does get to the middle and you get to these twists, the movie does get a bit confusing. That kind of lacks and everything because it's just kind of like, I don't understand the point in going through all this elaborateness and stuff like that. So basically, the plot is like this. The House of Flying Daggers is a rebel group, and the government wants them shut down. Their original leader was killed by the government, and he had a daughter that was blind. So the government has to find out where the house rebels locate at so they can take them down. Nobody knows. It's like a secret. So these two officers and everything, Leo and Jin, they tried to infiltrate that of the House of Flying Daggers. So they concoct a scheme. Basically, they got word that like one of the house members is like a dancer at this place. So they send Jin in undercover. So he goes there, pretending to be like an arrogant drunk. And he finds this blind girl. And after hearing that, like, the father had a blind daughter and everything, it must be her. So he acts so abrasive that he tries to like assault her, which I do not appreciate, in the like, place. And Leo and some guards have to arrest him, but they arrest her too, but saying she's dressing unlawful and everything. So while she's held captive, those two are just like hanging out, and he decides he's gonna pretend to defect. Because also one reason why they arrested her because she offered to dance for Leo, and then while dancing for him, she tries to kill him. I forgot to leave that part out. So anyway, Jin dressed now all in blue, pretends to like rescue her because he's pretending like, oh, I'm in love with you and blah blah blah. So he rescues her, but she doesn't quite trust him yet. But then he actually does fall for her, and she actually starts to have feelings for him as well. While all this is going on, Leo pretends to ambush them and everything. So they fight their way through, and he shoots them with arrows because he's very proficient in like shooting arrows and stuff. And so like he hits all his targets, and you think he kills them until they get up and everything. He only hit their clothes, like going through like, one layer of clothes to the other layer and stuff. And so he still is a mole for that of the government. And so they're out hanging out. They attempt to make out, but she doesn't want him to at first. And it's kind of like, why? And so then all of a sudden they get ambushed for real this time by the government. And Leo had no idea. So they had to fight their way through, and they are rescued by the House of Flying Dagger people. And so they thank Jen and everything. But here's the twist, the first twist. The girl, whose name is May, she's not really blind. She only pretended to be blind so that she can lure Jen to her hideout and everything, because she know him and what he was tracking her, tracking the house down and all this and that. So that's the first twist, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I can vibe with that. The house like tricked them and everything, right? So like all of a sudden they bring in Leo, they found him and stuff, right? Then this is where the other twist comes. So the leader lady, I think her name is Nina, she yeah, the leader's name is Nina. So like she comes and takes Leo out to like the forest to kill him, but then here's the second twist. Leo is actually a mole. He's actually part of the House of Flying Daggers. And he saved May years ago, and they fell in love with each other. And he's been working undercover for 3 years. So he hasn't been with her. They might also be engaged. I'm not 100% sure, but they're like, he's madly in love with her. She's in love with him. So I'm like, okay, I can kind of vibe with this twist a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But then it turns out that the leader isn't really the leader. That's not really Nina. She's only like, a person who pretends to be the leader, so in case anything happens to the real leader, So he warned Jin, so Leo warned Jin not to fall in love with May because you might compromise the mission a while back. But this is only because he's really in love with her. He asks to see her, and he realizes she's in love with Jin, and that angers him. So he tries to assault her, which, I hate this crap. I hate when people get assaulted. So he tries to, but then the real Nina shows up and throws a dagger in his back. And so she tells him, you're still working for us and you're not allowed to assault nobody, and you need to go back to like the government and, throw them off our scent and this and that and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And so I'm thinking to myself, this is the part that gets confusing. Why didn't Leo just kill Jin and blame it on like the house? He has the daggers. He could have staged just like stabbing him and leaving him there to bleed out. They didn't have to go through all this elaborateness and stuff like that, especially since Leo knew all along that May is not really blind, but went through this big elaborate scheme to have her dance for Jin and then like have her get arrested only to have Jin like rescue her and all this other stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was too much of an elaborate scheme when they could have just off like Jin right then and there. And he could have thrown the government off like the scent of like, the house in another way. So she tells him, leave that dagger in your back because it's more convincing. So he does for the entirety of the rest of the end of the movie. But then Nina wants May to execute Jin because he knows too much and he can't be trusted and this and that. So apparently May is always used to like lure men in and like, off them later on, unless they can be trusted. So of course she actually falls in love with him and rescues him. They make love, but she tells him, we can't be together. If we ever meet again, then one of us is gonna have to kill the other person. And he's all like, let's just run away and roam the world together. So she tells him just like leave and everything. So he leaves on horseback. Then she decides to follow him. Well, this is when Leo comes in as in his jealous rage. He throws a dagger and he kills he throws a dagger and it stabs May in the chest. He's pissed because he's all like, I waited 3 years for you and you couldn't even wait like 3 minutes and fall in love with this guy and all this other crap. And, she's all like, I knew you was going to come and like all this other stuff. And he's all like, why? Like, why would you like leave like me for him and all this other crap? Well, Jin, at this point, he decides, you know what, I'm just going to go get May and we're going to run off together. So he rides back and sees what happened. The biggest bro fight happens. Like the biggest sword fight, the biggest brawl. Like it's one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen. And it lasts for a really good time, barely cutting to any other scenes. Jin and Leo, they go at it. With their swords, with their fists, with their feet. They're fighting so hard that there are so many nicks in their blade and everything. So at this point, we see the government soldiers starting to roam through the bamboo forest. They're near to where the House of Dagger people are. But we don't see the government people after that. So this is the one little part that's confusing. So in a way, May is still alive a little bit because now it snowed. The snow is slowing down her heart rate. She's not bleeding out because the dagger is still in her. So she starts to limp. And she threatens to kill Leo with the dagger he stabbed her with. Now, by this time, Leo and Jin stabbed the crap out of each other, both their swords in the back. But, Jin is all like, no, May, don't do it. If you pull that dagger out, you're going to bleed out and die. But she doesn't care. And so Leo pulls the dagger finally from his back after all this time. And they both launch it. Or so we think. So we see Jin limping to try to stop it and everything. And this is the part that's a little confusing. Leo and May are no more than like 20 feet from each other, but when she throws the dagger, it looks like it goes through like as far as a football field. So that's the part where the CGI is a little weird at that point. But anyway, from Leo, we see he's still holding his dagger. He didn't want to throw it. Either he can't because of his stab wounds and his mind's messed up, or he just didn't want to further kill her or nothing. But whatchamacallit, when you see the speck of blood flying and everything, it goes towards where Jin is. So when it comes to, I guess he meant to throw it at like to kill Jin or whatever, but for whatever reason he couldn't like let go of it. I guess because of his wounds. May, on the other hand, threw hers, like I said, and her dagger deflects the drop of blood going near Jin's face. And I assumed it was going to go in Leo, but no, it hits a tree. So either this happened because it's not really explained. So either she just didn't really want to kill Leo, or she realized that, you know what, like I need to save Jin, and so like my life doesn't matter, and you know, because this whole charade I played and this and that, and so you know, and she feels bad about what happened to Leo, so she probably just let him live too. Anyway, she dies, and Jen is just like upset and crying and stuff, while Leo, just distraught, turns around and limps away, and it ends. And so I'm just kind of like, well, what happens with these characters? Why didn't Jen go after Leo and take him out? Where is the House of Daggers and where's the government? So it's left the ending very open-ended, and it's just kind of like, I'm not feeling satisfied. I need to know what happened after this, you know? But other than that, like I said before, it's like a really good movie. And you can watch it on Pluto TV, but it is dubbed. That's normally the way I'm used to seeing it, because I've watched this about like 2.5 or 3 times, and I've always watched it dubbed. I have no idea what the actual like Chinese voices sound like or nothing like that. But it is a really captivating, mesmerizing, beautiful looking movie. Happy Asian and Pacific Islander month, everybody. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.